Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the stream. It's Monday again, so it's chill gaming session day. We're going to be playing the Midgar expansion to PowerWash Simulator. I'm told there's some interesting settings in there, so we're going to take a look at it. Should be fun. PowerWash is a nice, calming game. Let's check in with the kitties. As might be apparent, Ember has been pulled out of quarantine. She is simultaneously happy to be back, where she can be around someone near constantly and the other cats, but also remembering that she is not only ruler of the domain. So she's having to readjust to putting up with all of the other cats. Mason has been moved over into quarantine until his eye gets better, just to be sure. The only reason that he wasn't quarantined as well, given his eye infection, was we only really have the one quarantine spot that we can use. But he's already been doing better, so it's just a matter of time there. Still, let's see here. See, she's all tightly loafed because Sky got too close. Keep the camera on her. Swap on over. Hey there, casemate. Thanks. Yes, it is good news. She's been... Frankly, she probably could have come out of quarantine about a week ago, but the vet just pushed for being extra sure. And like I said, I expect Mason's gonna be out soon. How has your day been, casemate? Apparently, our client is Reeve. On behalf of everyone at the Shinra Electric Power Company, I'd like to welcome you to Midgar. Could not have been easy to come all the way out here, so your presence is much appreciated. I mean, you can always complain, but it's good that you don't feel you need to. To raise our population's morale, we're opening an exhibition to celebrate the long and varied history of our fair city's motor industry. Two of its key pieces, however, have emerged from storage in, let's just say, less than pristine condition. If they're going to take center stage at the exhibition, they must be spotless. That requires the attention of someone who understands the full meaning of the word, none other than you. So it looks like we've got some soap available to us. Hopefully we're not really going to have to use a lot of that, since the consumables are a bit of a hassle. It's our filth pulse. Looks like it's the exhibits that we have to hit. You can see the motorcycle and the truck. I think these were both from the chase sequence in the tunnels of Midgar. Okay, we still get all of our toys. If you are new to Midgar, allow me to say a few words by way of introduction. Director of Urban Planning, responsible for the design of the entire city, including its heart, the Shinra building, in which you're currently working. Can't remember if this room was there in the remake, so it'll be interesting if it was. all the angles here. You do indeed cleaneth the truck, Tess. I don't recall. Do you remember, was this showroom or something like it in the remake? Interesting. Nice touch. Very cool. That gives it a little bit of a neat connection to the source material, you know? It's the kind of crossover content I prefer, is when it feels like they put the effort in. See that buzzing when I hit it with the if I hit the car with the power washer? Well, it's not there anymore. Perhaps I am hallucinating. Played enough video games and had very loud noises as a result, so there's a good chance that my ears just ring now and again. Well, I know my ears ring now and again. Welcome back, Derek. Are you still working on that Minecraft boat? There is supposed to be audio. Thank you, Casemate. I checked if there was music in the game, and despite turning it on, I didn't get any, so I'm keeping my normal background music in play. See, you are still working on the Minecraft boat. Clearly an involving project. Is your ETA on completing it, Derek? Our organization, run by the lauded President Shinra, is split into 5 divisions: urban planning, space and aeronautics, advanced weaponry, and something else. That is amazing, Tass. Let me see if I can find a kitty. Cross desk. There we go. And they definitely put some effort into this crossover. One of their other recent crossovers was the Nier Final Fantasy one. And while, like, the assets were quality, the music was quality, like, they did service to it by not skimping on the content. It did not feel like it actually was part of the game. Like, they just had a sort of, it had kind of a Spider-Verse vibe. at least with this, you can have, like, you know, they called a cleaning service into Shinra. This is a location in the game. So it doesn't feel like a hand wave. I like that. And to be fully fair, I mean, it's okay to have crossover content that's just 100% fan service. And I think that's ultimately what the Nier one was, because Nier Automata had been very popular recently. I know, right, Casemate? You just have to get yourself a 3-pronged cleaning laser. That solves a lot of problems. Expect either Heidegger of Public Security or Professor Hojo of Research and Development to call upon your services at some point as well. As head of public security, Heidegger commands the city's military, while Hojo concerns himself with pushing the boundaries of science and ethics. Due to the highly secretive nature of their jobs as well as their eccentric personalities, I recommend not making any ripples, let alone waves, when working with them. You can solve a lot of problems with anything that has a laser suffix, you know? Let's see, that would be a fun crossover if one of the weapons you could obtain in Dead Space was essentially a space pressure washer. You know, meant to clean all of that horrible gunk off of stuff. Had a joke in the Team 4-Star Dragon Ball Z parodies, like they had all of the different products, but it was always just prefixed with space. So they do things like, you know, sponsored by Space Arby's kind of stuff. You know they'd want to do it like Viscera clean up the tail, but frankly Viscera clean up the tail is kind of fiddly. Onto the vehicles themselves. Tell me more, Reeve. Tell me more. Motorcycle is a hardy Daytona, highly maneuverable and powered by our company's first V-type DOHC engine. Engine is the same as those used in small aircraft, so it does 0 to 60 in. I see we've already arrived. Yeah, the rear wheel mount has something still missing with it. A little bit there. Baseballs was good times. There we go. And to get the right angle. The other one was grubby. This one seems to be encrusted. Apparently the ramming spikes are all individual entities. While aesthetically interesting, putting the ramming spikes on the front wheel seems to be a questionable choice. As a protective shield, maybe, but you really don't want to hit things with your front wheel on a bike. At the very least, you'd expect some more reinforcement on the front wheel if you were going to have a ramming apparatus attached to it. General Hauler is a classic all-purpose vehicle that has always been an integral part of city life. While it may look clunky and unstable with its unusual three-wheel design, I assure you that its appearance belies its true power. On an open freeway, the hauler can theoretically keep pace with the hardy Daytona. References. The idea that the hauler keeps pace with the bike during the escape sequence. Sammy is playing with the ball track, and Sherbet has noticed. A lot of anime vehicle design that tends to rely on the operator's ability to ignore physics, you know? It's the kind of science fiction thing that gets hand wave is like, oh, there's inertial dampeners. The science fiction equivalent of a wizard did it. There is a lot of constant thrust equals constant acceleration in sci-fi video games. Front fork brace. Seat plating, swing, top console. Brake lights, bumper guard. Back to the hauler. Outdoor frame. An indicator? New job available. Dedication to your craft is everything we'd heard it was. So much so, we're moving on those 2 exhibits to the atrium. You have our deepest gratitude. Before I forget, after hearing my assessment of your work, Heidegger, Director of Public Security, insisted on contracting you for his own division. While he does have a tendency to come off as rough around the edges, I assure you it's a byproduct of his passion and military background. That said, his style does not mesh with everyone, so if it doesn't mesh with yours, tread lightly. There isn't a, then, you can feel free to reject the contract. It's, if it doesn't mesh with yours, he might murder you. As this request is vastly different from the first, but think of it as proof of our trust in you. After all, we wouldn't bring someone of your caliber all this way just to wash down a few sets of dirty wheels. The Scorpion Sentinel. Tells me you're quite the shot. Shame those skills are wasted on cleaning up literal filth instead of enemies of the state, but no matter. As head of public security, my job is to keep the city safe, and one of the most effective ways to do that is through the deployment of devastating weaponry. I agree with this man. My Scorpion Sentinel can snuff out insurgents before they can even start reaching for their white flag. But Professor Hojo thinks his test subjects could quell riots better than a heavy weapons platform. To prove just how wrong he is, I propose a challenge for him. If one of his juiced-up lab rats could even scratch my Sentinel, I'd volunteer to be his next test subject. I have no doubt my machine stood the test against his mewling varmints, but I still need the Sentinel washed down. After all, isn't that what his beloved scientific process calls for? Evidence? The implication being it's covered in lab experiment gore. Bio-residue. The Scorpion Sentinel, one of Shinra's greatest achievements in military robotics. Your identity has already been stored in its database as a non-target, so stop worrying about getting shot at and start scrubbing. You're quite safe, for now. Or at least it's significantly less juicy than lab experiments. One would expect so of a superior metal housing. There was like a little chat or something, like an interview somebody did with Brennan Lee Mulligan, and it ended up with them talking about his ideal type of restaurant, and it was something like one of the aspects was the food should be dense and quickly consumable, and I can't recall precisely how it showed up, but they were like a gusher full of meat. And I think that's the kind of scenario that we're dealing with here is, you know, a meat gusher. Maybe it's scaffolding. There's the grotesque possibility, but you can also imagine, you know, you get something like you get kind of like a ravioli shell, and it's full of like beef and gravy. Another one, an episode of the Venture Brothers, they had a sort of Scooby-Doo scenario where you had a bunch of locals trying to scare off outside interests, and they were trying to describe like what this horrible monster had done to somebody. And they referred to it as, it was like somebody took a man-sized can of blood soda, shook it up, and popped the top. Which is pretty much every violent video game that has, that wants to show that it's very oh man, it's moving around. That's cool. But every really violent game that wants to show off, like, oh, you know, it's very gory and gritty, and it's like, no, that's a water balloon full of gore. That's not how a person comes apart. This thing's going to be a hassle to clean, I can tell you that. Or Sherbet. Sherbet's a little stressed because his brother is in the quarantine area where he can't get to him. The showroom vehicles were dirty because they had been in storage. Like, nothing specific to it, just that, like, that particular set had not been maintained as well. Hey, if you're available, I have a job for you in Sector 7 Undercity. I know you're eager to know more about the Sentinel's myriad capabilities. Its tail is far deadlier than that of the creature it's modeled after, and its 6 tapered legs let it get straight to the point, if you will. The way Heidegger's talking, I would expect that it not be called the Scorpion Sentinel, but the Patriot Scorpion Sentinel. Craven foes who want to shoot. Exactly, Tass. This whole machine can go totally off-grid. Wondering what all those noises were, and it's some of the various bits moving around that make the squeaky sounds. Yep. The head, the chest sensors, the legs, or I'm sorry, the scorpion thing, all of them move around and kind of squeak. The regulation required exposed power core that can be hit for massive damage. An agreement that came into play that was very slowly hammered out with the Rebel Freedom Fighter Union. They were willing to concede that mechanized death machines would be deployed against them as long as they would have obvious glowing vulnerable spots at which to shoot. Everybody thinks LEDs are a cool addition to their electronics, but they don't realize how volatile they are. All it takes is a small impact and the whole thing will explode for massive damage. Yes, I'm going to trot out that old joke because it's timeless. It'll stop being funny when people stop doing it. That little eye right there makes one of the little squeaky sounds. The claw has a loud groan. Seeing if the head swivel had a sound to it as well. Quick sweep of all the filth we can see from this point of view real quickly. But you think we would stop there? Of course not. Also outfitted it with a close-range EM field and a self-repair functionality. With this bevy of features, it's nigh unstoppable. Like QVC meets a Merchant of Death. Haphazard with our clean, but you know, we're getting. Ribbit is zooming around in the background periodically. Appreciate how casual this is. Viscera cleanup detail, I was hoping would be another thing that would have the same vibe as this, but there's a lot more planning that you have to put into the whole operation with Viscera cleanup, because you tend to, one, the whole physics engine tends to make things go wonky fast. But additionally, you do have to worry about the whole, cleaning one area can mess up an intervening area or a nearby area kind of thing. Incautiously hauling a bucket of bloody giblets through a freshly cleaned hallway can make it cease to be a freshly cleaned hallway. If they'll make less noise once we get all the goo off of it. I mean, the little chest sensor didn't, but so far all of Heidegger's, I kind of imagine Heidegger's voice in this scenario as effectively being Alex Jones. Except, instead of dubious pills, he's pushing giant death robots. Ever see the YouTube channel by Will McDaniels? He does a lot of really kind of surreal and fleshy practical effects style creatures and scenes. And one of his skits involved a company called Dubious Meats. Like how the big laser cannon almost looks like it's mostly made out of a gigantic muffler. This whole part in the back here has that sort of feel. You do have to expect that for it to be covered in this much bio residue, that the test did go quite well on its side. We've received reports of gang activity in the Sector 5 Undercity, most likely Don Corneo's lackeys. Perhaps his goons. I briefly considered deploying the Scorpion against them, but realized that they are the definition of small fry. It would be a waste of company resources to eliminate them. I feel like if you've got a giant death robot, that you really need to take advantage of the giant death robot. Do a quick kitty check here. A much more fitting target would be those eco-terrorists that go by the name Avalanche. If they want to poke the bear, they best be ready to deal with its claws. Yeah, definitely the Alex Jones voice for him. So even in the remake, you don't get the best view of how big this thing really is. Crawling all over it like this gives you a much better impression. Seems like the tail is going to be the hassle part for this one. Of little semi-concealed bits on this thing. Surprised I haven't fallen off yet, really. There we go. Shinra Electric Power Company. I like how they had to put their brand logo on the giant killer death machine. It's kind of like having a logo on a main battle tank, you know? I don't mean like a flag or something like that. Much more like M1 Abrams, brought to you by Levi's. yellow spot, clean the yellow spot. I have to remember to check the latency settings on the for the next stream. Make sure that it's not re-defaulting too high. Imagine Ree fed you some feel-good tripe about his plans for the future, didn't he? Sees the world through rose-colored glasses, but what he doesn't realize is those lenses are coated with the blood of our adversaries. After all, our company began... I feel like the old saying doesn't work the same way if you're trying to describe remember something fondly or assumes the best as looking at it through blood-tinted glasses, you know? an exhaust port for the rear for the cannons. Makes sense, I suppose. So easy to just trance out doing this. Why I considered this such a valid substitute for Puzzle Day. It accomplishes the same thing. Was a bit of a in rapid succession moment there. Good times. Dings of satisfaction. Guns moved when I picked up the thing. coincidence? Perhaps something more. Almost done with the scorpion. There's still a lot of ground to cover. It's a big old beastie here. Barbed Wire have been talking about them recently. I started listening to they're effectively podcasts, but they tend to have some visuals with them, though limited. The SCP kind of reading channels. In particular, one called The Vulgan. I had listened to them previously, but I'd set that aside for a bit. It's kind of nice while I'm doing something else reading. Hey there, Scoot. Welcome to the stream. Come to join us for some Final Fantasy VII PowerWash. And/or kitties. Doing all right. A little tired today. Been running errands most of the day. Got all my streams prepped for the week. Got Ember to the vet. And a couple of people around. Did taxes. How about you, Scout? Or Scoot, how are you doing? Well, that's nice. It is Monday. It is chill and chat day. Everything nice and relaxing. Get some chill beats to pass out to, you know? Which bits are we missing? One of the shoulders, one of the cannon casings, one of the wrist claws. Fine, fine. No rhyme shall escape. Go. Claw wrists. Some cannon barrel. I didn't know I could do that. There we go. Let's see that replay. Seventh Heaven. And I figured it'd be the bar. We've been having lots of trouble with Don Corneo and his grunts for a while, but last night took it to a whole other level. They stormed over into Seventh Heaven unannounced, ordered the entire menu twice over, and proceeded to spill it on every possible surface. I would have beat the snot out of every one of those thugs right then and there, but then we'd have a lot more trouble on our hands than a few small-time gangsters. Anyway, my friend's daughter, Marlene, has been hanging out here a lot, so I want the place squeaky clean for her. I do it myself, but it's almost 0 hour on a job we've got over in Sector 1, so I need the speed of a pro. I'd really appreciate it if you could get the bar looking good as new. I always forget that that's not a loading screen. Oh, this place is filthy. It is. When she said every surface, she meant it. Look at this. It's so upsetting to see the bar looking like this. I know it's not the fanciest, but it's like home to us and our regulars. A place for people to get homemade food and escape the daily grind. Start the process of defining some surfaces here. Could take a bit. If you ever have any questions about what we're doing, about the cats, anything like that, feel free to ask, especially on Mondays, because we're not going to be doing anything too stressful such that I don't have time to keep looking over at chat and talking with you folks. Do is I'll go around edges of the room, corners, that kind of thing, so that I can see where I actually am at any given time. That can be a real problem with things like the subway tunnel, the bathroom. All of those had that problem of the entire area is a surface that needs cleaning. So this way we can at least spot we can spot and cut out corners and what have you. Or at least walls, that kind of stuff. Also tends to get us free things like floorboards. Sort of. Let me see if I can get it working. One of the eyes don't work so good. Work. There we go. So yes, to a limited extent. Sometimes the left eye kind of flickers. Willing to entertain avatar questions. Definitely suspect we'll be needing that ladder. I was actually kind of hoping I could poke the jukebox for music, but oh well. I'm also not too upset about it because some of the entities associated with the distribution of Square Enix music are very zealous about copyright. That it's not supposed to work that way, but we're going to use it that way anyway because we have too much money to care kind of fashion. In general, with Square Enix, so far the only thing I've really heard is, and that I've personally run into, are the distributors of their music CDs. Not the company itself. Like I was trying to do a replay of the base game of Final Fantasy XIV. And there was a particular audio track that got claimed by the distributor of the base game soundtrack. Not Square Enix, but the publisher of the CD. It is... I have had a 30-second segment of the Phoenix Wright high tension music claimed by some company whose audio track was in Arabic, I think. And I have had less than a minute of this audio right here, I believe, claimed by as a infringement of a slow-paced reggae song. Content ID be wonky. And unfortunately, the way that the whole claim process works, companies have no incentive to actually engage with the process. When it comes to a content ID claim, you can file a counter notice, but their claim will stay in place for up to 30 days, during which, if I were making money off of it, which I am not, but it's the principle of the thing, they would still have an active claim on my content. I believe if that happens, though, and the claim is not, like their claim is not upheld, that funding would ultimately be released, but it, again, annoys me on principle. On a related note, I do find it funny how you will hear people talk about how, oh, YouTube is super strict, like overly strict about DMCA policy. And a lot of times that gets mentioned by Twitch streamers. And there's a lot of streamers on Twitch that have the loosest, the absolute loosest interpretation of the DMCA in their mind. They tend to have a, well, don't narc on me kind of feel about it. And because of that, they get the impression that, oh, Twitch isn't as bad about it. We can actually do what we should be allowed to do. And it's one of those, I'm sorry, but just playing their music so that you have a cool soundtrack to your stream does not automatically make it transformative. Like, the whole gimmick for us being allowed to stream games is that the act of me being here playing it and talking about it adds value. Adds something new. But unless you're actually doing a musical composition breakdown or something like that, or reacting to it, that kind of stuff, there are some good channels that have done things like that. Watch somebody do a high-level musical theory breakdown of Undertale music. It's kind of cool. It was a musical theory breakdown sky high above my understanding, but it was still cool to have somebody that essentially went into the music blind and was able to essentially, based on just the music, very accurately describe the scenes that it was going to be used in. Not like in their game context, but in the kind of the emotional setting of the music. Beyond this is a sad scene. It was stuff like the overtones of the narrative during it, which is I think a testament to that individual's skill, but also the skill of the writer, developer, musician behind Undertale. I think I recall that, casemate, or something like that. There was a particular one of them along those lines had a It was the royal something or other, but it was a type of melody or some sort of construction of a melody that a whole lot of anime used because it was very easy to apply in a lot of circumstances. Like, it's one of those things that just works really well. You know, I haven't noticed, but I wonder if there are gnomes in these maps too. Remember the name of another one that does good music breakdowns. Do you remember his name, Tass? He's the guy that's done a lot of the Final Fantasy XIV stuff, as well as some other, like, Square games. Alex something or other. I know you've seen some of his stuff too. But, you know, looping back around to what I was talking about, that kind of thing is actually like transformative content. That is, you are doing something with the music. That's the one, Tess. I don't know how to pronounce that last name, but that's the one. That's the dude. But that is transformative content. You are lending your personal touch to things. So hooray. But like, just taking the soundtrack to a video game and using it, a lot of times you are reliant on the particular owner of those rights not either knowing that you're doing it or deciding to not come after you. Like, they are making the decision to not do it. But that is a fully revocable decision, you know? Like, at any time they can decide, you know what, we're going to come in and we're going to copy strike everything that contains that. Yes. If it's part of the game, it's supposed to be. The second added layer of that, of a lot of video game music that comes out of Japan or any of the video game content is Japanese copyright law is not a lot like ours. It is pretty much the rights holder gets almost universal say. It's why Nintendo has very publicly made the stance that they don't acknowledge fair use. So if it's Nintendo content and they don't like what you did, they're gonna claim your content. Or strike your channel if they're angry enough. So it's supposed to be. And in regards to my Final Fantasy XIV stream, if you look at the fan site content, the like, if I'm going to stream Final Fantasy XIV, is there anything I should know kind of stuff, they explicitly say, don't remove the music. Don't play different music over our stuff. They essentially saying you must use the in-game music, which is why I was so very annoyed about that. Yep. Now, all that said, since I am a US-based channel, that's the copyright law that applies. So good times. Yeah. I recall you had mentioned that there's a particular track that they essentially had somebody else make. Now, interestingly, that's not the one that I got a claim on. I think the one I got was one iteration of, I think it was Torn from the Heavens, one of the battle themes. But yeah, very weird stuff. Very weird stuff. And yeah, what you get is you have a lot of folks that do stream on platforms like Twitch get the impression that, they can do this stuff, but it ultimately is kind of putting your fate in the hands of the company that you're doing that for. Because there's little to no chance that Amazon's going to leap to your defense if they come in and say, hey, this channel has repeatedly violated our rights. It can be removed from the files. One of the things that I have actually started doing, it's the reason that on my extra long streaming days, I only stream for 4 to 5 hours at a time, is YouTube does have tools in place that if somebody claims some music, you do have the option of either cutting that whole segment out of your video or having them use automated systems to try to excise that music, either by muting that segment or by trying to slice the music out of the audio. But it can't do that, I think, if the video is 6 hours or longer. And as I mentioned, since I've had claims on BS stuff and I don't want to sit around waiting for them to not respond for a whole month, I like to be able to use that. As for your question, Casemate, I don't know if it's accessible to rip that file out. Or if the game would like it if you did it. comes down to how they've got the files embedded in the system. One of the games I modded a lot a bit ago was called Noida, and while it was possible to go in and change the sounds, it was that one master file that you'd have to change. So you'd have to redo the changes each time. It wasn't a bunch of like audio clips or something like that. It was one big blob file. Almost back around to the bar. I feel like when she says that they got the food on every surface possible and that she didn't beat them up, it's that instead she slipped a hand grenade into the food, and this is the aftermath of that meal. That was a thing with the base PowerWash Simulator game, Casemate, was there's the implication that it's the presence of the nearby volcano that's gone active again. That there's some sort of like soot and muck rolling over the town as a result. But like it's pervasive and it's everywhere. One of the examples was the subway tunnel and the bathroom. There was like a sealed hall bathroom that floor to ceiling was coated with muck in a way that made it look like a rolling wave had come in one door and hit the other side. It's something went down, and their explanation for it doesn't line up. Like if you were to move into an apartment and the guy says, we used to have a roach problem, but we've dealt with it. But if you do see any of them, just use this. And he hands you a shotgun. There's something he's not telling you. Having said it, it's also a story I want to hear the rest of. Maybe someday I'll tell me. Progress. There's the Buster Sword in the promotional screenshots. I like how they're particularly saying it's Cloud's Buster Sword, not anybody else's Buster Sword. Is that a problem that they commonly have? Is the Lost and Found glutted with gigantic sheet metal blades? Especially with the remake, Cloud has become a much better character, but sometimes you feel like he is the sort of person to, you know, crayon his name onto his giant sword. It's got all the bar stools. Why does this say tall stool? Alright. You like to chill at a cafe. Yes. Well, technically. So, I have all these other nozzles that used to have use cases. And technically I can use wider streams. They can clean a little faster. In some circumstances. So you can use like super wide but less intense streams. But if you look, the muddy footprints don't get cleaned off as much by that. You can miss stuff. I can use narrower streams for it to be better. The yellow one is pretty good. But the Trident has all the advantages of some of the really narrow streams like this one, the little oscillator, but it has the width of the yellow one. But you don't get the Trident until late, access to it until late in the base game. I can use things like cleaning liquids, which are a consumable that can clean some types faster. Listen, I don't know what you've heard, but Shinra, it's not as kind and selfless as it paints itself. Mako energy they produce, it's made by draining the planet's lifeblood. They're killing the planet, dude. Plus, the whole reason they provide it is to control the populace. We allow them to keep harvesting it, we're assuring the planet's destruction. Someone has to do something. I don't recall, Tass. Did they ever explain that Avalanche actually knows this, or how they actually know this? Or is it just like they read a pamphlet or an old book somewhere and decided that, you know, the natural energy of the planet is actually a thing? I know canonically it's a thing, but it seems like they're just protesting, you know? Ah, okay. That makes sense. Because it does have that sort of Avalanche's talking points have a lot of that bad environmental protest kind of vibe to them, the sort of PETA protest kind of vibe. Though, it doesn't 100% help that now what we've got is an individual that professes to have extensive knowledge, has gathered a militarized group of followers around him, and is setting out to attack significant city infrastructure as a result. I'm not saying cult, but I'm thinking cult. Oh. If they explained it in one of their phone games, I refuse to acknowledge it. Like Final Fantasy IV, the after years didn't happen. That's a really cool, plausible thing. It is nice that they've put so much effort into the story, though. No, putting stuff in cell phone games is the equivalent to how Games Workshop spreads tidbits of critical lore across, like, dozens of obscure books released only by Forge World at very limited windows. Well, if you had this book, it would make sense. Well, if you 100% this very particular level in Final Fantasy Record Keeper, and then you get the special triple star character and max him out, his lore tidbit tells you that this is what actually happened. Once asked somebody about that because they had like one of those expensive models in their office of something from Fate, and I had mentioned that I'd seen the anime, but I felt like the whole time there were a bunch of characters that they assumed I knew, and that there was a whole like mechanic to the world and the conflict that I didn't understand. And that's another one that's like, it turns out that it's a, other media source thing. I have to wonder how the next installment of the Final Fantasy VII remake is going to go down. Because aside from giant obscure reference blob monster final fight, cool stuff. Yeah. No matter how cool your character art or any of that is, bad writing can really hobble it. Though it won't necessarily stop anybody from really getting into it and then justifying it. series of tubes. There's a great many anime that, like, the story and the art can be excellent, but there will be that one particular point in it that you look at it and say, that's somebody's fetish, isn't it? Like, this is a thing that's emphasized way too much. Made that much worse when the content is otherwise very wholesome, you know? Right? As much as it's a pesky habit, I at least get where they're going with the with a lot of the gender swapped characters, especially when they're doing things like, we need more cute girls in our game. Because that's often exactly what they're going for, is like, well, we need more cute girls. Often they don't, but they do. It's like, okay, you've got a target demographic you're selling to them. Exactly, casemate. That machine gun on the table belongs to a friend of mine, Barrett. Well, one's all green glowy, apparently. He's big and hot-headed as a behemoth, but he's got a heart of gold. He also cares about our planet more than anyone else I know. I wonder if they'll dig into that that Barrett connection with Cosmo Canyon in the subsequent remakes. He left to join. Oh, here we go. Buster Sword belongs to my childhood friend Cloud. He left to join Soldier when we were kids. Now he's out and helping us take on the company. Might not show it, but if you clean up his Buster Sword too, I'm sure it'd make his day. Games. I love the carefully concealed elevator mechanism. You know, in case they get raided, they don't want anybody to think that there's a secret elevator here. Oh, that's just the stabilizer for the pinball game. Pinball machine still hides filth. That would be an interesting marker to have, is how much water you've used. Tomato. Not a particular product, they're just a fan of the fruit. Eggs and chips. It's a good thing everything in this world is made out of super durable material, you know? The destruction that this thing would be wreaking otherwise. Let's see. Right, folks, be right back. Alrighty, getting situated here. And we're back. goal is going to be to get through this map. Won't take too much longer. Good times, though. Interesting the variety of ceiling lamp styles they've got going here. So we've got 3 hanging open bulbs. We've got 4 almost like LED style ones, like flat over light. Then we've got this bell-shaped one. 2 more bell-shaped ones, and then another flat over lights. So, kind of a combo there. Not like bizarre, but choices are being made. Can't decide if they want like a cozy atmosphere, a dank atmosphere, or a bright atmosphere, and they just decided to try to make segments of the room account for each of them, ensuring that they don't hit the mark on any of them. Okay. That's our light fixtures. Scrubby, scrubby, scrubby. remember to have some fixed breakpoints during my stream so that I don't do arbitrary breaks like that. Can't believe how amazing the place looks, and you're not even finished. I can't believe how you think it looks amazing when there's still effectively tar on the ceiling. Like, your standards are low, ma'am. Need to help with the final preparation of that job in Sector 1, so I've got to run, but I'll have Cloud come by to give the place a once-over when you're done. Like that's a subtle threat. I'm gonna send by the guy who owns that gigantic sword to make sure you did your job right. True, Tass. I think that's another thing that they did better in the remake is getting a better grasp on the dynamics of Tifa and Cloud's relationship earlier on. You know, the dynamics or dysfunction of that particular relationship. I think it'll make that, assuming that sequence is there, the, way later, the sequence between them, that much more impactful. Wild Hearts apparently got a patch that made it so that one of the progression bugs that we ran into was fixed. So I started playing a bit of that again. Still very fun. I am glad that Monster Hunter is going to have some tangible competition. I liked the potential of Dauntless, but it is not a direct competitor of Monster Hunter by any stretch. Not even saying like, oh, the quality isn't there. It's that the fundamental feel of the gameplay is different. It's more of a Monster Hunter at a sprint kind of feel. You know, if Square's going to do more crossovers, I kind of want some Final Fantasy IV crossover with this, because we definitely need a something in the vault with voiceover aspects, or at least text messages from the boss of the vault, so that we can get things like, you know, sickness must be purged and similar stuff for this. Ah, this is why those are tall stools. These are short stools. It's likely to get some difficulty getting the floor if we don't get it now. Do. I didn't notice that there was a front door mat. Couple of videos, there was a company that does carpet cleaning, rugs and carpets, and they have videos of some of the ones that are just they are cleaning the kind of rug or carpet that you expect was like left in a building that burned down and collapsed in, and then the roof was washed away in a mudslide, and a subsequent flood cleared out the mud but left only the base level of the house behind. And then they peeled the rug out, and they're like, "Can you clean this?" Just the sheer number of different machines that they had for different stages of essentially taking like a thick pile rug and getting just, it'd just be like gallons of sludge coming out of it. You get that it would be dirty, just... It's got that whole TARDIS of filth vibe going, you know? There's more grotesque sludge on the inside than on the inside than the outside. It really can be. It's another one of those things that it requires skill and effort to do well, let alone to do right, you know? It's those industries that people tend to kind of look down on as like, oh, you know, they're just cleaning staff. Adjustable stool. It was interesting when you get just about done when it reveals what you're missing. And it'll be some of those little bitty things that You didn't even think were actually something you had to clean off. Boxed jars. Bar shelf. Microwave, some neon signs, some skirting. Pipe, tiled wall shelf, and wall lanterns. Just about done. There we go. The replay is one of the more interesting aspects of this game. It's pretty satisfying to watch and fast forward like that. The Mako Energy Exhibit. Well, we're going to pick up with that the next time we play. I think we're going to keep going here. Failing anything else, we do have the Tomb Raider things that we can do as well. There's like a museum exhibit looking thing. So we'll be able to play some more of this as well. Good times, though. Hope everybody had a good time with PowerWash Simulator today. It was nice to get to revisit this one. Another calm, relaxing game. It's there's not a lot to think about. It's just accomplish the goal. Remove this from the screen. Has a similar vibe to those puzzles for me. It's just a steady completion kind of thing. Do your task. But for the rest of the week, as I've posted with the schedule, we have Phoenix Wright tomorrow. We're going to continue with Yes Your Grace. The goal is to complete at least one playthrough of Yes Your Grace. Seems like it could be fun. Then on Friday, we have Murder by Numbers. And then Saturday, we're playing some more Danganronpa. Double streams are always a possibility, but there is no guarantee of them. We'll post on the social medias in similar if I'm going to double stream. But in the meantime, I hope everybody had a good time today, and I will see you tomorrow.